Sooner Nation, Thunder Nation, we are back. This is the Just Okay Sports Podcast. I'm one of your village idiots, Daryl. I'm here with my brother, Jared. Jared, how are you, sir?
I am good. I am not melting away because apparently we're having I don't know what's going on in the world. Apparently the ocean is boiling. So we're about to have like hurricanes every day. But then there's also a cold weather system or something here, which, I was telling you earlier, it's like 80 degrees. It's actually been beautiful for like the last week or
Yeah,
so. It's been like
yeah.
gorgeous here. But and before that, it's like it was a matter of fact, it got so hot that I had to hook up my portable AC in my office just because of like all my electronics and stuff making this room so much warmer, you know.
Right.
And then like as soon as I hook it up, we have this cold weather system. But yeah, it's been good, man. It's been busy. I've been traveling actually. I went to the land of moose and poutine, Canada.
Hey,
Um, so yeah, it was that was pretty fun. I got to see a lot of stuff. By the way, speaking of, have you ever had poutine?
yes.
Why is that not a nationwide American? Like when you describe to somebody what
It's
poutine
actually
is,
an American, that sounds so Midwest Southern
it,
dish
it
anyway.
the first time somebody described poutine to me, I was like, and they're like, it's Canadian. I was like, there's no shot. Shut up. I was like, shut up. It's like that's like a Midwestern,
I'm
like
trying, it's I remember it's gravy, potatoes, and then like a meat, right? Like a roast
no, no,
almost
no,
type.
no. It's potato or French fries,
French fries.
gravy, and cheese curds.
Yes.
Uh, so it's fantastic. Which everybody there, I was like the only thing that I was like the way you can make it southern because they put like brown gravy, like they have brown gravy there, not
Yeah.
like white pepper gravy or anything like
Right.
that. And sorry, I said white, and like they were all like white gravy. What? Like none of them. They all
Yeah,
thought
they
I was
have.
crazy for saying white gravy. But anyway, still fantastic. But it was a good trip. I got to go to like the CN Tower. Went to their like they have a theme park called Wonderland. I got to ride a ride. It's hilarious. So just real quick story. Wonderland used to be owned by Paramount, and then Paramount sold it as a number of years ago, whatever. So there used to be a ride called Top Gun, and it
Oh,
was like when you
nice.
got on it, like they played Danger Zone and all that
Yeah.
stuff, But then when they sold to Paramount, Paramount obviously took all the rights to their properties with them.
Oh
So
gosh.
there's a bunch. Like there was a Tomb Raider one, and it's called like Time Shift now, or I don't know. But this one's called Flight Deck, and it's really funny. I haven't even sent you. I'll have to send you a picture. My buddy actually that went with us edited it because it says Flight Deck, and he just like basically changed it to say Top Gun because he's like it'll forever be Top Gun. So anyway, but it was a really good trip. So I had a lot of fun. So what's been up with you? It's been a long time since we potted. So
Dude, it has been a minute. Life's been crazy busy, but good with all kinds of different things. And yeah, I think I would say the most surprising thing that's happened in my life in the last week or so is a few days ago. Cool story here. So I played
mhm.
my first round of golf in 15 years on Friday.
Okay, okay.
So
I don't even
had
know this story, so I'm glad you told me.
and I played in it because it was a charity event for my friend who is needing a heart transplant.
Oh,
Guy that
okay.
mentored me, all that kind of stuff. So it was one of those. I found out about it. I wasn't going to play because I don't play golf anymore. And a buddy called and was like, "Hey, we need one more guy in our scramble group. Come on, group's already paid for. Yada yada. Like dump all your money at the silent auction or something." And I was like, "Okay." So I went 3 rounds to the driving range. That was my
Mhm.
preparation over the 2 weeks I knew I'd play in this tournament. As a team, we shot 15 under par.
It's pretty
And
good. Pretty good.
yeah, we ended up, we were like sixth, seventh, eighth, somewhere in that neighborhood of the whole thing. And then the cooler part of the whole day on this deal is so we played all that day. All of us are there sharing stories and stuff. And it was, pretty bleak, to be honest. We weren't really sure what was going to happen. And at 11 p.m. that night on the Facebook group that we're all in, praying for him and sharing stuff, he got a heart
Oh,
that
that's
night.
awesome.
Like, got the
That's
call that
crazy.
the heart was in the air and they were prepping him for surgery. And so far, it's all holding on so far. So that's my cool story of the week was playing my first round of golf in forever and happened to be the same day the guy got a heart that we were raising money for. So it was pretty cool. So
Yeah, that's
that's
awesome.
that's probably been the most wild thing. So But we talk sports here and a little bit of life always. So let's dive into it. We're gonna go. We've been doing this a little bit lately. We're gonna kind of finish this way, and that is starting with Thunder basketball first, and then ending with some OU stuff because obviously Thunder's been the most recent thing. We haven't potted since the demise. Oh man, so all the stuff. So let's just start on this. Just Thunder exit the playoffs, obviously at the hands of the Mavs. Just your thoughts there. Wish Troy was here to talk more about it, but how do you feel? What were your thoughts as we exited the playoffs?
Can I just say, well, let me talk about the Thunder. Let me talk about the Thunder first, then I'll talk about the Mavs. I thought the Thunder played really well. It like that was the thing is, I think there was only like really one game that was really where it was, over well before the time was up. It was a hard fought series. This wasn't like Dallas really just dominated where they won by 30 points every night or
Right.
whatever. Um, so I think that there's a lot that the Thunder still people have to realize the Thunder are even younger than the Mavs.
Hmm.
Um, they're a lot of the things that I think you saw that led to their demise, like offensive rebounding, just some of that toughness and grit, I think came out with that age.
Hmm.
But like even like what's funny is I had a bet with my buddy that the Thunder would make the Western Conference Finals, right? And of course I lost that bet. And we were texting about it, and he texted me within like 5 minutes of the game being over. And but he was like, dude, he's like, look, I'm gonna be honest with you, like the Thunder are set up. He's like, with all their picks, with
Yeah.
all their capital that they have, with all their like all the talent they have that's incredibly young. It's like really it's still crazy to think about. So I'm still hopeful for the future. I think the fact, like I said, we talked about this, and I said this pretty much before the season started and continued this when we even ended the postseason. If
Hmm.
they make it out of the first round, that's really good.
Yep.
And they did. So, and not only that, they left the first round in a dominant fashion. They didn't,
Yeah.
they literally swept. So, um, I was really impressed by that. Now, the Mavericks, can I just say, I don't like, I've tried to think about this more objectively. The Dallas Mavericks, like, Luca is my favorite player, probably, or one of my favorite players off the court.
Right.
I've never really been, like, as much as I respect Kyrie's game, I've never really been a Kyrie fan.
Hmm.
Um, but after this series, I'm like, dude, they do so much to make you just not like them on the court.
Yeah. Yeah.
The yelling at fans and all that, and blah. It's like it feels like it, like I told somebody, I was like somebody was like, well, the fans are yelling. I was like, the fans yell at you every game. Like, I'm
Yes.
not saying that there's not jerk fans. I'm not saying that there's not fans that elevate
Right.
it beyond a level or whatever. But you're not going to tell me that every single game that they played in the playoffs, there's been that fan in the stands where Luca and Kyrie are literally yelling at them, telling them to go
Yeah.
home and all that. It's just those little things. It's like, dude, those are the things that like you're gonna go to Boston, and one Boston fans are rowdy, so you might
Yeah.
have those sorts of fans, and Boston's really stinking good.
And they
Like
hate Kyrie.
and
They
they
hate Kyrie.
yes, they hate Kyrie. I mean, there's the dynamic of everything that's Porzingis and all of these storylines that are like lining up for this series is kind of crazy, honestly. Um, but yeah, I mean, it sucks for the Thunder, but I still think it's a very successful season. I know
Yeah.
some people were acting disappointed. I'm like, dude, even as a number one seed going out the way they did,
Yeah.
still is a tough fought game. Luca's really good. As much as you can hate him, I still my one of my tinfoil hat thing. I don't think he's that injured. I think that he plays that up a
Well,
lot.
he hasn't really shown any signs of injury since like what, game four, game five of the Thunder series. Just all of a sudden the gimping down the court and constantly
Well, and
grabbing at
it's
the knee and all that just disappeared, which maybe he healed of whatever it was, but
but you but the thing is like with a leg injury, especially like a knee, like a joint, like you have to like rest it. There's no other like treatment. Like
right.
they sure they can inject you with whatever and make that pain go away temporarily, but it's like it's debilitating if you don't rest it.
Yeah.
And he hasn't rested it because he's been in the playoffs.
Right. And that's the,
So that's
yeah,
where you're like it's like it's not only has it seemed like it's just been erratic as to when it flares up,
right.
but then it's like it just it doesn't make sense in any fashion. So anyway, I'm cheering for the Celtics, but is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you. I mean, I don't want to I don't want to be the ridiculous lose sight, of reality. We said, start of the season, I think me and Troy again were a little bit lower than you of just saying this team should solidly be in the playoffs, not be in the play in, right? So we were saying in that 5-6 uh seed range. They got the 1 seed, overdid it. And then
Mm-hmm.
I even said, look, you probably should win a playoff series, but I would even just say be really competitive in a playoff series this year. Instead, they sweep. And then they're highly competitive in round two. And again, like you said, 2 games were somewhat lopsided, but at the end of the day, they both scored. I don't remember what the total, but they scored the exact same amount of points through the 6 game series, like 623 or something like that, I think is what it was, or 633 something. But that was the exact same number of points for both teams.
Well, and
And, that shows you how tight the series was.
I think people have to keep. We've talked about this a little bit, and I wish Troy was here for this because it's like there's those games in basketball, and there was some of that for the Mavs, and there's been some for the Thunder too. I'm not saying that it doesn't go both ways, but there's those times when a team just gets hot and it's like inexplicable. Like there was a play on, I think it was one of the ones where Dallas did win by a decent margin, and it's like literally like there was plays where like Luka was just like falling over himself, not being touched, and throws the ball at the goal and then scores, and you're just like, what?
Yeah.
You know
Well,
what I
I
mean? It's
mean,
like
the Derrick
it's just
Jones Jr. shot in game 6, where he's fading away, like shooting this ridiculous high arcing shot with less than 10 seconds to go in the game, and it bounces on like 4 different parts of the rim and goes through. It's like, of every single person on the court, he was the guy you want taking that shot at that moment. And then the minute it hits, like that shot is not going. Oh, it's still bouncing. Oh, it did go in. I mean, it's just
yeah. I mean that's
crazy.
just it's just one of those things. Like I said, it's just a finicky a game. It's a very fickle game as far as how that momentum shifts. So
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I mean, I thought they played really well, and everyone keeps saying youth, 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 and I guess that's right, but I feel like the only place that the youth showed up was in the role players. I mean, at the end of the day
mm,
in that series, PJ Washington and Derrick Jones Jr. and Derek Lively played better than Cason Wallace, Aaron Wiggins, Isaiah Joe, that complement of players around Shea, J Dub, and
I
Chet.
and,
Now, at the
and
same time, J Dub did not play great until except game 1 and game 6. He was not awesome. And then Chet was very up and down. So, but again, I do think there's a
it's
youth element
consistency.
to that. Yeah, I think there's a youth element to that of just what the physicality, the details, the confidence you have to play with every single night to win a playoff series. And those guys, for the most part, had been through those fires a little bit more and were a little bit more ready. And then, I mean, you've seen it though in the Minnesota series where now it's completely reversed because it's Luka and Kyrie going nuts every single night against Minnesota, while Derrick Jones and PJ Washington and those guys have been pretty much non existent. I mean, there was a night the other night, I think 70 of their points was between Luka and Kyrie, and they never did anything close to that against the Thunder. So now the hindsight of it all is where it gets tricky, right? Because this is where my fear and just the y'all like to call it my dark Daryl side comes out a little bit, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm already just starting to have those like, dude, did we screw this up? Because look, everything that we're saying about this team is what we said about KD, Russ, and Harden and Ibaka and all the guys was, oh, we are set for 6 years, 7 years. We got multiple championships in there. Oh, Russell gets nicked by Beverly and hurts his knee. Oh, you're out of the playoffs in the second round. Bye, no championship. And then the next year it's KD's foot, and they botch the surgery, and he's out forever. Oh, well, there goes that. Harden gone because he doesn't want to be a part. He wants to be the main guy, and so Presti shipped him out to Houston. And then next thing you know, You got Golden State down 3-1 and you can't close the deal. And guess what? It's all over. It's all done. And Dallas, on the other hand, goes and makes just some really subtle moves at the trade deadline for the purpose of making that team better, not clearing cap space like we did. And now they're in the finals. And with the way that they carved through Minnesota, you just can't help but believe if we would have actually addressed some of this. Like, look, we traded for Gordon Hayward, who was on the same team as PJ Washington. And I think it's fair to say that PJ Washington would have been a much better help to this team than Gordon Hayward. You know, Gafford, all these guys. It's just weird to go back hindsight now and just go, man, did we screw it up? You know, it's that whole thing of just like when you have a chance to win it, you better do it. The Eagles in the NFL are a great example, right? They go to the Super Bowl, stand toe to toe with Kansas City. Everybody walks away from that Super Bowl going, look, that was the first time ever that Jalen Hurts had any kind of run like that. He's young. He's going against Mahomes, who's been there, done that. Now he's got a year under his belt. They're going to be so. And then we remember after the NFL draft, we were all like, dude, the Eagles are like, they might be unbeatable. And they didn't even sniff the Super Bowl the next year. It's like, I just hope we didn't miss our window. You know, like that's that whole
I mean,
hindsight 2020 thing.
I agree and I disagree at the same time. Um, because like everything you say, it's like you also alluded to other teams that are where the Thunder are, right? Like that's the two paths you have. Like you have a Kansas City type path, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you have the Golden State Warriors. Like that was what everybody thought was going to be the NBA, was going to be Oklahoma City and the Warriors going head to head for 5 to 10 years or whatever, right? And of
Right.
course, that all fell apart for the Thunder. But those are the things. I mean, I get what you're saying. I understand the concern. I still believe in Presti. I know everybody's going to circle the Gordon Hayward trade, and I agree. It ended up being a very bad trade.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think he's going to be very well welcomed back in the state
Yeah, we're gonna talk
anytime
about that
soon.
in a minute. Yeah.
But regardless of that, like I said, I like we were just talking about like my buddy that's a giant Sixers fan. I mean, die hard. And we all know how 76ers fans are, right? And he was like, dude, the Thunder, like that team. Like, he's like, they have the tools. I think that's maybe the difference that they have is they have like Presti has set them up. Like
Yeah.
when they had Harden and they had Durant and they had Westbrook and all those things, they had the pieces, but it was like they had to try to hold that core together because they
Yeah.
didn't have the equity outside of that to do anything.
Right.
Right, like when Durant left, it literally pretty much sunk the ship because they didn't
Right.
have anything to cover that.
Right.
And now it's like, you know, if something happens to somebody or somebody leaves or whatever, it's like you have the capital in trade or in picks and just trade capital and everything else to say we're gonna go get a superstar or we're gonna go enhance this roster with somebody else. So I think that's probably a little bit of a difference. But yeah, I mean, I think it was a successful season, and I believe Presti is uh has learned, I think, from those past events.
Yeah, and I hope so. And I'd say that's the biggest thing right now moving forward is you better go put what you set in motion to use. You know,
Mm-hmm.
the cap has taken a massive jump this
Right.
year. You've got 30 million coming off the books with Gordon Hayward leaving this team. You got all these draft picks. Do something with it. Take these role like Kenrich Williams is a valuable role player, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Wiggins is a valuable, and I would say Casey Wallace is a high level rookie player that a lot of
I
teams would love to have, which I hope he stays personally. But like if you package him in something to make this team ready right now, I'm not mad about that.
well,
Uh,
and I was gonna say even earlier we were talking about Case Wallace, and I thought Case Wallace had moments in the playoffs that he was fantastic.
100%.
It just was the consistency, and again,
Yeah.
those are things that come with age. So
Yeah.
just to go back to what you're saying, you have a lot of young players Isaiah Joe, Casey Wallace, some of those guys. It was like they had those moments in those games where you're like, holy crap, like these
Right.
guys are really, really good, and they just didn't string that together for a whole game.
Right. And I don't see Oos being a great NBA player, but you can't deny either the guy was the G League MVP of the finals, won a championship, played well. Like maybe there's some team that's fallen in love with him, but you need to go take advantage of all that. Now, let's come back to really quickly and start trying to work our way through this fastly. But Gordon Hayward, exit interview. Interesting. And then unfortunately, because if you actually I sat down and listened to Sam Presti's exit interview with all the media, and he
Mm-hmm.
said some things that were funny, on some level were they a little bit of a shot at Gordon Hayward? Yes. But at no point was he trying to say Gordon was pathetic. Gordon would like unfortunately the sound the clip and the quote that got put out there by everybody is, well, we got him to bark, so there's that, and he was jokingly saying, I he owned he thought Gordon Hayward would come into this lineup and just mesh and it would just all be great. And it didn't. He said, and I missed on that. I thought it would be easy to assimilate him into the team, and it obviously was not. And that's on me for not realizing how hard that was going to be. And that was the context around him saying, well, we got him to bark. At least there was that of him saying, at least that part fit, like he did connect on that level. Well, then his wife took to Twitter, Gordon Hayward's wife, saying, he told you to begin with this wasn't a good trade, and you did it anyway. Then she sends out another tweet that says you have to have the ball in your hands to actually make an impact, which, oh, okay. Gordon Hayward, I didn't feel like I was given opportunity in his exit interview. Never felt like I was really given a chance. And, my role on this team was what it was. And I'm like, I, did somehow Sam Presti put some kind of Gordon Hayward hate filter over our televisions, over our radios, over everything
I
of Gordon Hayward? Where did we not all watch a man literally treat the basketball like a hot potato pretty much the entire time he was here, other than 3 games? And he thinks what he should be the star of the ship? Like,
yeah, like what was his expectation that he was going to replace Shea, or
I
you know what I mean? Like what do you like? What I don't understand. Like that's the problem I have with it. Is like I don't understand the logic. Like when you were put on the floor, you pretty much were known that you were going to be like a supplementals like bench player. Like you weren't going to replace anybody in the starting five at least consistently, right?
right.
Um, and like you said, it was like it, there was plays like I even like watched like I saw somebody put a Twitter deal where they put like a bunch of plays like it was and I'm talking about like dozens upon dozens of where like they passed to Gordon Hayward and he's like down low like he's either in the paint or close to the paint could easily like take the ball and make a move and try to make a layup or like a fadeaway you know what I mean, make
Right.
some sort of shot easy like a very lightly contested shot at worst and he just passes it back out.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, you have to have the opportunity. Maybe you should go talk to your wife because she thinks she should hold on to the ball longer. I guess. I
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was just his wife, him, everybody. It was just such a, I don't know where you were in this, and the only thing I will say about this to the Thunder side, this was the first time I think that we can all kind of agree. Sam Presti tried to lie straight to our face and thought we were too dumb to see it, right? Because one of the things he did in his exit interview as well is saying, yeah, I missed, it didn't really fit, and then he just kept alluding to, but we did clear a lot of cap space. We did clear some roster spot, and that's true. And we all knew that was a part of the deal was this was going to free up a lot of money for the offseason, whether that is that you choose to restructure some guys' deals that you want to keep long term, whatever. Okay, great. But he tried to really kind of pawn it off to that's really what we did it for. okay, if that's why you did it, why was he still taking minutes, 20 something games into the experiment from Aaron Wiggins? Why was he still taking minutes from Isaiah Joe? Why was he still taking minutes from Giddy? Like, if you really were like, okay, we're throwing darts at a wall and we hope we might hit something with this. 20 games in and we're in the playoffs as the 1 seed. Rather than let's give all the minutes to Wiggins, Joe, Giddy, Case and Wallace, let's keep trotting Gordon Hayward out there. And maybe, I mean, you could just tell they were just hoping there'd be some kind of fire that got lit in him and he would get going. And it just never. He took 4 shots in the playoffs.
I
4.
Yeah, and can we just talk? Like, okay, go. I don't want you to finish. I'm sorry because I
Well,
have a
I
little
mean,
rant.
just my whole thing is, man, like if that's it, okay, you wanted a bigger role when you were given opportunities as a starter and given valuable minutes, you didn't take advantage of it. You had more than ample opportunity to shoot and everything. And here's the deal. I think his exit interview just proved he basically just finished out his time with Oklahoma City pouting. You should have never
Yeah,
made this trade. I don't want to be here. I didn't want you to trade for me. You're not making me a great piece of this offense, so I'm not going to do anything and I'm just going to collect a paycheck.
but can we? And that's what I want to rant about just for a little bit.
Yep.
You're an aging player, right? Like you're on the back end of your career, the very back end of your career, right?
Yep.
And if you were getting traded, I could understand if he was getting traded to the Detroit Pistons. That sucks, and I could see
Yeah.
being like, I do that. This trade is not going to go well, right? Because I'm going to
Yeah.
play on a team that's terrible. I'm going to lose a lot of games, and I'm going to be very unhappy. You got traded to the Oklahoma City Thunder, who have been the entire season at the top of the Western Conference standings,
Yep.
from a team that was not competitive,
Right.
and you're getting put on a team where you can get paid whatever 30 million or whatever it was that he was getting paid this season to sit on to be a role player and have a chance to go win some playoff games, to
Yep.
win a championship. You have that talent level.
Right.
And you're gonna tell me, well, no, that trade's not really what I want. Dude, you find me, LeBron James would die for that trade.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's be honest. LeBron James, I'm not even kidding. I guarantee you, if there was a way that they could structure a deal to get LeBron James to Oklahoma City this season, I'm not saying this is a realistic thing. I'm just saying
Right.
if LeBron James would be interested. LeBron James would go, you mean I could go play for the
Yeah.
top team in the Western Conference?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
Gordon Hayward and his wife, no, that trade's just not going to work for us.
Yeah.
What world do you live in?
Yeah.
Like what team, and like let's put this in outside of Detroit. What team in the playoffs? Let's put it like what competitive team? Western or Eastern, it doesn't matter. What team are you going to put Gordon Hayward on that he's going to be in the starting five getting tons of minutes? None. None. You're past that part of your career.
The only honestly, the only other team that would have worked is if Dallas would have traded for him instead of PJ Washington. Because they're both forwards that kind of like he could have been that guy for them. Like that's
Yeah.
what he could have. But again, would he have been? Because there, you don't just have ball dominant Shea, you've got ball dominant Kyrie and Luca. Like, what would you think your role is going to be there? Like, what do you think you're going to be there other than a sit in the corner, make some backdoor cuts, like take the pass in the corner or make some backdoor cuts and get a dunk or a layup? Like, that's the role, man. But like, what's dumb is like you said, you had a chance here if you would have just contributed a little bit. I mean, again, this series ended tied in the score. If you would have come in and just scored 6 points a game, we run away with that series. We win that series 4-2 ourselves. And you don't do anything and don't even try. Like you could be in the Western Conference Finals. And now hindsight, again, looking at it, which it's hindsight, you probably mow right through Minnesota too. And if
Yeah.
you mow, like you're in the finals. Like, I don't know, man. It's just wild.
It's I'm just like I said, Gordon, I wish you the best. Whatever. Maybe talk to Caleb Williams and the shopping wasn't very good in
Oh
Oklahoma. I don't
gosh.
know. I don't. I like I said, it drives me batty because it's like I said, if you just take a step back, whether you're an Oklahoma City fan or not,
Yeah.
if you just take a step back, any aging player that has a year or two left in the NBA, realistically, we'll say less than 4 years left in the NBA,
Yeah.
would die to be on a team like the Thunder, where even if you're a role player, you can go compete for a championship.
Yep.
And Gordon Hayward said, "No, that trade's not going to work for me," and then
Yeah.
just didn't appear to be interested in basketball anymore. So
Yeah.
it is what it is.
It is wild. As far as the playoffs go, we know now it's going to be the Dallas Mavericks versus the Boston Celtics. How do you feel this series goes?
Taking Boston in five.
Wow. Wow.
Boston in
I'm
five.
I'm on the other end. I'm saying Dallas in six, especially if Boston doesn't have Porzingis. If Porzingis plays and he's healthy and he's actually good, I think it might be a 7-game series, and I'm still picking Dallas. Um,
I'll go Boston in six, but I think it's Boston. I mean, I just think Tatum is. I like I said, I think um Boston is another animal. Not only just the team, but the fans, that arena, that environment. They've been able to go into the Thunder, and as much as the Thunder fans are rowdy, it's like this is our first playoff experience. They can kind of feed off that a little bit. You're gonna
mhm.
go into Boston, and those like Boston fans are you live there.
Oh yeah.
They they are
They're
rabid.
ruthless. Yeah, we went
They
to a
are
couple Thunder
crazy.
games there, and they are crazy. And they, like I said, the FU Kyrie chants are coming, all the stuff, but that fuels Kyrie. Those kinds of that's what Boston fans don't get, and Oklahoma City fans, for that matter, didn't get with Luka. They all kept chirping at Luka from their courtside seats. And the reality is, the best way to get Luka to play terrible is to tell him how great he is, not be talking trash. Because the minute he gets ticked off, that's when he's at his best. And when Kyrie is motivated, that's when he's at his best. And he is going to want to kill. And I'm sorry,
Well,
like
I
for me, Boston is still a two-headed monster of Jaylen Brown and Tatum, right? Tatum, Brown, however you want to say it. I will take Luka and Kyrie over that tandem every time. And as much as I don't think Jason Kidd is some elite coach, I think he's better than Boston's coach. I mean, when you watch Boston play, there is no flow. There's no real movement. It's a lot of ISO ball. And again, if you're going to tell me it's Jaylen Brown and Tatum versus Kyrie and Luka in ISO ball game, which Dallas does play some, I'll take Luka and Kyrie every single time.
all right.
I mean, that's just
I
what now. Again, if Porzingis is in the game, he could be a massive
I
X
I
factor.
I want to say that he's been practicing. I think is what I saw on the news or the on the ESPN earlier is that he's been practicing and he's expected. I think by like game one or two.
Right. And I mean, again,
So
if he's healthy, that's we both know at this point he's probably going to play no matter what. Is he healthy? And not we're not
well,
talking
and like I
about
said,
the
this is a
Luca
wild.
version of I got fouled, my knee is
Well, you got
that whole thing.
Porzingis, you've got Porzingis, and this like I said, the stories of this, I will have to say, this is like watching pro wrestling. The storylines are wild for this game. Just
Yeah,
like all the the Kyrie connection, the Porzingis connection, just
yeah,
everything is just it's one of those things that this is going to be I don't care who you cheer for, this is going to be must watch television.
yeah, a
However many
hundred.
games there is.
100%. No, should be a great series, and like I said, I think it'll be a long series either way. But I'm leaning Dallas's way. So let's get off basketball. Let's talk some football, shall we? We'll start with OU football, that is, and kick it off from there. I didn't even write down the name because it doesn't matter, but we got to act like we actually keep up with all the details because we do, because we're ridiculous fans. We got a transfer from Akron at quarterback. Does that move the needle for you?
I don't know. The only bonus is like you can say you're recruiting Oklahoma kids because he's originally from
Choctaw,
Chickasha,
Choctaw
Chickasha.
High.
Yeah, something. Yeah, it's one of the CH places. Um,
The,
yeah,
here's the
I don't
only
really.
I'll give one thought to this. Is maybe Casey Thompson's injury a bigger deal than we thought? And so that's the only other thing I can think is this is a bring in. He's probably going to be a walk on anyway, right? He's probably going to be a PWO, something like that. But my only other thought is that Casey's injury really is big, and they brought Casey in to kind of mentor um, Jackson, right? Jackson
Mhm.
Arnold. But now they're realizing, man, he's not going to be able to play at a high enough level. And so let's bring one more guy in to really run scout team in case we have to go to Michael Hawkins, that we can keep Michael Hawkins off of the scout team. That's the only, but I mean they also have James Nesta. So I don't know what this is, man. Like it was a weird deal. That was like everybody was talking about that. I was like, what is happening right now? Unless I didn't see it and he's 6'5" and 240 and can play tight end, maybe. And that's why the Blake Bell situation. I don't know. But just so you know, we noticed that we did get a new quarterback and we don't really think it matters. How about that?
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
um,
It's it was a weird deal. I don't, it was a, yeah, it doesn't really necessarily move the needle, but maybe it's one of those things that there's something behind the scenes we don't know about, or there's a plan with him that, like you said, we're not aware. Maybe he's going to play tight end. I don't, maybe he can kick. Maybe he's really good at field goals. I don't know.
Who knows?
So,
Who knows? Now, here's the other thing with OU football. How the times change, Jared. How the times change. We got a few times of our schedule next year.
mhm.
So for one, let's talk out of conference, shall we? Non-conference games. We're playing Temple, Tulane, Houston. We also are playing Maine. We don't know when that one is yet. But of those non-conference games, Temple is a 6 p.m. kickoff.
Mhm.
Tulane is a 2:30 kickoff, and Houston is a 6:45 p.m. kickoff. Like, in what world have we had a non-conference game later than 11 a.m. Central Time in what, 5 years, 6 years?
Yep.
And now all of a sudden we're prime time windows of watching up and down the non-conference.
Yep.
Oh, that's interesting. That's really interesting. And Texas itself has been moved to a prime time slot
Can,
from
can
11
we,
a.m. to 2:30.
can we talk about that? Because I saw people that were mad about that. And I was like, I've been to both. Like, I've been to an 11 a.m. kickoff
Yes.
and I've been to a
Yep.
2:30 kickoff.
Yep. Yep.
Well, I think you and I have both been to, like, together to
I think I
those.
was trying to say, is the one we went
I
to,
think the first year we went, I think it was a 2:30
it was
actually.
like a 1 or 2. It was something later than 11.
Yeah.
I just
And then I
remember
think the
that.
next year, I think like a year or two later, you and I went together. I remember I went 10 years in a row to OU Texas. And there was, I saw both. Um, I prefer 2:30. I don't know, like 11, it sucks. I think because you have to wake up really early. You have
Yep.
to go park. It's chaos down by the fairgrounds. The infrastructure on the fairgrounds kind of sucks.
Right.
Um, so you have to park. We've been fortunate to be able to find like our little spot that we usually, I think you and I both park at like basically the same spot every year. You got to get in. By the time you get in and you like go grab a corny dog or whatever, you got to go in the stadium. Like you have no time to enjoy the fair. Like you pretty much have to get there and go straight into the stadium and get in your seats. You're in a hot stadium, packed, yelling, screaming. By the time you get out of there, win or lose, it's like you're kind of like I don't
Yeah.
want to be here that much longer. You know what I mean? You don't
Right.
get the fair, like to me when you go to 2:30, you get there, you can get there at 11. You can go enjoy you can go get you a beer, you can go get you a corny dog, you can go do your thing. It's just an experience. You get to enjoy the fair and then go to the game.
Yeah, because like the last 11 a.m. I went to, like the booths were just starting to open. I mean, when
Yep.
you go into the fair's not even open yet. They're
Mm-hmm.
just letting you in so you can go to the game. So you're literally going in to watch like big noon kickoff or, college game day or something. And then you're just hoping that the booths will open on time so that you can get food out at the fair before you go in. The only negative, and look, this is true of all games in August, September, and October. There are still times in October that Dallas is freaking hot as all get out. And if
Mm-hmm.
it's one of those days, for the players especially, it is going to be miserable on that field. I mean, last year was an 11 a.m. kickoff, and the heat was a factor. The heat was a major factor. And that's the only downside. But look, man, like this, like you're actually going to have people on the West Coast watch this game now. And again, this is a prime time slot. 2:30 is one of those, like 11. Believe it or not, 11 a.m. is a prime time slot as well. That's a big deal. That's a big watch window. But 2:30 is like prime, and then the prime obviously is like the 7 Eastern kickoffs that you get in the evening. So, man, I again, you can't you can't as a fan base for the last 5 years cry about 11 a.m. kickoffs, get all afternoon and evening kickoffs, and now go, oh my gosh, it's gonna be hot. I don't like to like you can't do this. You cannot. Everything cannot be exactly as you want it. If you don't want 11 a.m., these are your options, and I love it. I love it. I'm all about it.
I
I'm all in.
the only other thing, because I've heard some people say like I would love them just 1 year to try it. I think there's reasons probably why they wouldn't, but I'd love to see a night game
Yeah.
for OU Texas. But it's like, dude, everybody being drunk, like, everybody's gonna be drinking all day. It would be chaos.
Well,
But it would,
and I from what I've also heard, I mean, you hate to say these kinds of things, but the area where the fairground is in Dallas is not the most family friendly
yeah,
area of
yeah,
Dallas.
that's
And
true.
already with a 2:30 kickoff, you're gonna have people getting out of there at nighttime. But if you did a 7 where you're down there at 11 o'clock at night, 11:30, and you're trying to walk your young kids through there, like it can get dicey. I mean, that like there,
Yeah, no,
there's
I
a
get it.
lot of there's a lot of activities, shall we say, that are on the menu once the sun goes down in that
Can,
area that you would have to be walking through.
yeah, it is a little
Combined
bit
with
of
a whole bunch of drunk people coming out of a fair slash football game.
yeah, no, I mean, I just think it's just fun that the SEC is willing to experiment. We're gonna talk about this a little
Yes.
bit later, but it's like the Big 12, like I actually said this. I'll give you both sides of it. The Big 12 did a lot more than I thought they could to improve where their standing is.
Mm-hmm.
But as OU and Texas leave, their brand is taking a huge dip. There's no argument, especially now, not just even outside of football. I know football is the Goliath, but
Yeah.
in everything, it's like, name me a sport besides basketball with Kansas where you're just like, oh my God, the Big 12 is just it.
Baseball is probably the closest, right?
But you
Like
got OU. I mean, by the way,
I
I say that
yeah.
Texas is, by the way, the reason I keep kind of cringing at my TV as I look over. I've got the Texas game up right now on my TV. I've got the OU game up above on my monitor. Texas was up or down 2-1 in the bottom of the eighth. It is now 9-1 Louisiana over Texas. And an
Wow.
elimination game. Now OU is
Wow.
also down 1-0 right now in the uh I think the second inning. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, it's just crazy to me that you Brett Yormark is going to, I please, if he somehow show up to the Houston OU game, I dare you, I dare you, because he is not going to get any love from any OU or Texas. Like, how do you understand that OU and Texas fans joined hand in hand in their hatred for Brett
Yeah.
Yormark and, well, especially Bowlesby? Which, did you see the article that Bowlesby got paid like, I want to say it was like $30 million over his last like 2 seasons as Big 12 commissioner? And I'm like,
No.
the man that near like literally put the thing on life support.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, here's my deal. I know your Mark did the whole, I hope you beat Texas deal, like all the stuff, the conspiracy of the refereeing and all that, which I mean, there's some credence to. But here's my reality check. I don't think any of those things came from Brett Yormark. Like, I think that was just, look, if I'm a referee in the Big 12 and the two biggest cash cows are leaving, yeah, I'm probably going to be a little slanted in my calls because I'm pissed that you're ruining my career, right, as a referee, et cetera, et cetera. But dude, I love what the guy's done. I mean, I love it. Like, dude, they're doing Big 12 media days in Vegas. He's like, screw our footprint. We're going to go somewhere where every media person wants to come. Like, we're going to go somewhere where every media person is going, hey, I'll cover Big 12. Like, I'll go do that. You got that.
It, well,
You've got his combine thing that he created where all the Big 12 schools, every draft eligible player is going to have pro day together instead of at the school, which I know some people go, well, man, that pulls all the attention away from the school, but it builds the brand of the Big 12 in a huge way. And here's the deal, there's enough guys not invited to the combine that every single organization is going to want to see, that every single organization will be there. All of them are going to come and show up and be there and watching and talking about the Big 12. Like, he's done some really cool stuff. And if only they had hired him like 3 years before. That's
I
all I
was
can
gonna
say.
say, as far as the marketing, the way he's handled things is genius. I actually like. I give kudos to him for that. Because he's done things that should have been done like 10 years ago.
Yes.
Um, and I think the whole Bowlesby is the reason. I think that's what people need to understand. If you're a fan for some reason listening to us, maybe Brady, who's an Oklahoma State fan, is listening. If you think that OU fans, it's like the OU and Texas never really hated the Big 12. We hated Brett Yormark. OU and Texas screamed for years to expand after like
Yeah.
Mizzou left and A&M and all. You had all this
Yeah.
shuffling, and every other conference was growing, and the Big 12 dug their heels in and said, "We're not doing that."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
every school screamed for that, and then Bowlesby didn't want to do it, and now you have Yormark that's doing all those things. It is frustrating.
Yeah. And
So
look, let's also be clear that Texas had a hand in that too.
yeah.
There was a part of Texas also pushing, well, our payday's pretty good. Let's leave things as, but that's where Bowlesby's job is to look at Texas and go, look, we understand the payday's good right now, but this ain't gonna last. There's new TV contracts coming up for the SEC. There's new contracts coming up for the Big Ten. We need to expand and we need to go get more and we need to expand the footprint in such a way that we could be everywhere. They had every opportunity with Bowlesby there to attack ACC schools, to attack Pac-12 schools, and they literally could have had a coast-to-coast brand, and they chose not to do it. And now
Well,
instead, the Big Ten has it because they were proactive.
I distinctly recall because there was talks about them going after like BYU. BYU has been talked about for years as an addition to the Big 12.
Yeah.
And Bowlesby was like, well, we don't really know. There's not. I mean, there was I have to see if I can find it, but I remember there being like basically a whole thing where he basically said there's just not enough interest there.
Yeah.
And then the second that Yormark goes there and says, hey, BYU want to be a part of the Big 12, like, yeah,
Yeah,
we
we'll come
sign
do
us up.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll
Yeah.
come, we'll do that. Um, so yeah, anyway, just a crazy set of events, but yeah, just wild. So
Yeah. The other big thing I think that you and I we talked about this just a little bit before we got on, but George Stoya, by the way, if you want to go find his piece, he did a really cool piece, got to sit down with Brent Venables for a long time um, at SEC, like coaches. It wasn't their media days. I can't remember what it was that they were just at. I think it's like just coaches meeting, like staff meeting type stuff as a conference. Um, and he mentioned a really cool thing that you brought up, which was he talked about Danny Stutsman going over to BV's house for hours, like 2 or 3 hours, watching film, getting better, and talking about the goals for this team and how to achieve them, how to get there. I think you were pretty fired up about that part of it all.
well, look, I think that I've said this. Before last season, we talked about Danny Stutsman, and I think all OU fans have been on the Danny Stutsman train, like physically or athletically, we've thought that he's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It was that whole transition because he is a goofball, right? He is a little bit of a jokester. It was like you need to change for that into where you're fiery when you need to be. Like it's fine to be that kind of guy. And you want to see him transfer all that into a leadership sort of role. And last year, I think he made a leap, and then now he's making another. It seems like he's going to freaking BV's house and saying, not only does he saying I want to talk about me and what I need to do as a leader, he's saying I've talked. He even talked about how this is a very humble team. This is a team with a lot of ambition, but everybody is bought in together. Everybody is very. I don't remember what word that Stoya used, but basically everybody's on the same page. Everybody's has a team first attitude, which you like to
Mm-hmm.
hear. So, I think that that's really good. I think Danny is, um, I think he's doing a great thing. So
Yeah. Well,
you're gonna need that. You're gonna need that in the SEC.
yeah, just to, like you kind of alluded to, just a massive difference from the Danny Stutsman that didn't come get his playbook for 30 days, right? BV came into town and just did his thing. And then BV had to call him and go, "Do you want the playbook? Like, do you want to know what we're trying to do here?" Like, and like you said, do you want to be the funny guy or do you want to be the leader of this football team? And now, BB, let me come by. Let's sit down and let's watch tape. Let's figure out what we need to get great at. And then how do we make goals based off who we are and what we can accomplish? That's
Right.
just a night and day grow up moment for Danny Stutsman, you know? And so now you just hope the guy stays healthy, that the defense stays healthy. And, you know, you hope that Zach Alley as well, you know, I would say one of the things that I've started to geek out more on with stuff like that is hearing the way the players talk about Zach Alley. Like you don't hear that he's a savant per se outside of you hear he's BV 2.0, right? You hear that a lot. But the
Mm-hmm.
difference that you keep hearing is BV comes over and chews you out and you're still not exactly sure where you missed it. Zach Alley comes right behind him and goes, "Look, what he's saying is blah, blah, blah. Got it." And if that's true, if he's really gotten to the point where he knows how to explain these things to our players, where they can get it and they can fire and they can go, and they're not constantly swirling in their head, you know, huge. And we talked about this last year. Like, we know for a fact that last offseason, one of the things that BV worked on was tightening up his communication level, right? We all know how he can ramble, 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 ramble. And he was really working to be better at here's what I want to say. I'm saying it this way. I don't need to say it 7 times. I can say this and move on. But he is who he is. He's going to ramble. His mind is going to
Mm-hmm.
say and see and speak 50 things at one time, as opposed to the point. And if Zach Alley can really come in behind him and go, yes, that matters and this matters, but this is the point. Let's get going. On top of a team that has that kind of leadership, the defense could take a massive jump this year. Massive jump, which would just be incredible. And because BV's mind works on such a level where it sees everything all the time and it can't focus, I think it will help him as a head coach to not be swirling about the defense and swirling about game management and swirling about the offense and just go, I get to just manage. Like I'm just going to manage and these guys do their job. I think could be huge. You put all that together and it's a major, major improvement for the OU football team. I see you looking. What we got going over there?
So sorry, Texas had bases loaded against Louisiana. Louisiana just got out of it. So it's 9-2
Wow.
headed to the top of the ninth. OU, by the way, is up 3-1 now. They had a 3-run inning. So they're
Nice.
up 3-1 on Duke. They did get they had a home run robbed, which sucked. That'd have been a 2-run shot, but uh
Dang. Intense. The other thing that I wanted to throw your way, and this is going to sound terrible, but I don't know when else I could ever talk about it, so I'm going to. But got to hang out with somebody a week or so ago, and then even some people that we've met through this whole process on the SEC side. This was interesting to me. Um, I don't think from a money standpoint that OU is at the same level of a Georgia, an Alabama, and even Missouri. Missouri's throwing around some big bags right now. I think Ole Miss obviously has thrown some big bags, but I think they've thrown all their whole bank account, if that makes sense, at this particular roster. So all that's true. But I was talking to a person the other day that was saying some of the structural things that OU's doing behind the scenes, some of the network, I guess is the right way to say it, of how they're running NIL and how they're putting things together for these players, that when they left that SEC coaches meeting stuff 2 weeks ago, that several people came out of that saying they may not have the bankroll, they may not have this of some places, but they are almost a year ahead in some other areas of what they're doing behind the scenes. And they kind of attributed that to why they got like Dominic Williams, Why they almost landed Lole. At the end of the day, it just came down to pure money with Lole. But like some of the stuff they put together is how they were landing some of these guys. Derek or Burks. That's how they got him, you know. And so I don't know. Again, I wish I could get into more detail, but I didn't feel like I was in a position to just dive into all that and ask all those questions. But I feel very confident in what this person says, and it's really exciting to know that they've put some things in place and they've been able to more or less kind of gauge where things are headed NIL wise, and they're in a better position to attack as it changes than the rest of the SEC is. And that would, if we can just get a good season this year, if we can just have a good season on the field, OU could truly be primed for some big things this next recruiting class, transfer portal, and moving ahead in the SEC, man. Like, I don't
This is
know, man.
we've talked about this. This is the in Brent Venables' tenure. This is the biggest season, the
Yeah.
easily by
Yeah.
a large margin.
Yeah.
So, for a number of reasons, but outside of just going to the SEC, just overall program wise, this is that pivotal season where you kind of sink or swim. So,
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Speaking of swim, shall we? That's a terrible segue. I tried to come up with something out of your sink or swim, but I couldn't get there. But it's my bad. That I apologize. That was gross. I'm really
yeah,
sorry. But
yeah.
this whole start, stop thing that I'm doing is what we were going through waiting for something called NCAA football by EA Sports coming back. It was gonna happen, it didn't happen. It was gonna happen, it didn't happen. Now it is
That segue
happening. That was
just
awesome. That was a good recovery.
yeah,
That was a good
yeah.
recovery.
Mm, yeah.
No?
Yep. Anyway,
Okay.
so yeah, the game's coming
Shit.
out.
The game's coming out.
Yeah.
And it looks
The
awesome.
only it looks okay. So the gameplay's dropped now. Here's one thing that I was really worried about because it's being made by EA, obviously, which does not
Right.
have the best track record in gaming. Madden has been a dumpster fire for a decade now. Um, and everybody was like, "Are they going to?" Because it's running on the same engine as Madden, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things, and they even said that there's some people that transferred from the Madden team to help develop and blah blah blah.
Right.
So a lot of people thought this was going to be like a Madden clone. They're just literally going to like reskin it and whatever and make it a Madden clone. Watching the gameplay, definitely not a Madden clone.
Right.
The it's kind of funny. Like I even told somebody I was like, the funny thing is like people were like nitpicking the game, like when the gameplay came out, because there was like a screenshot and they're like, well, if you look at the Cotton Bowl, the tunnel should be down on that end, and like this should be, and I'm like, I'm not saying the details don't matter, but it's like, dude, we haven't had this level of detail. The fact that they have like the
Yeah.
pyrotechnics that OU has, like they showed like the OU guys run out hitting the Oklahoma Sooner banner and all these.
Whiteouts at Penn State, like the
Yeah,
Metallica playing for
they recreated the like they showed the in like the game in engine game of them doing the Mo Bamba false start for when Michigan played at Penn State, and it was
yeah.
just crazy wildness, and they recreate it. So I'm hyped for this. This has been a game. I mean, literally 12 years, I think, actually, is what it is, because
Yeah.
11 or 12 years. So it does suck. I wish it was coming to PC because I'm more of a PC guy. So, but I have consoles, so I guess I'm getting it on Xbox. Um, I'm just hyped, dude. I've already got like 20 people that are like, "Are you going to be in the online dynasty?" I'm like, dude, all I'm going to be able to do, I'm going to like quit my job and just play NCAA football.
Well, and look, like we're all going to get on it, and there's going to be something that disappoints us. Okay. You just got to be ready for that. It's not going to be perfect. Like I already see people mad. Well, there's no high school. Yeah, because we live in an NIL world now. And if they'd have done high schools, they would have had to pay the high schools NIL money and rights money to have them in there. Whereas back in
Well,
the day, they didn't do that stuff as much. And
well,
so,
so the thing is, I saw people that were really upset about that, and I think I understand to some degree, but it's like even in Road to Glory, like when they had it in the game, for one, it wasn't like you didn't play as like any specific, like you pick the town and then you pick
yeah,
the colors.
yeah,
It wasn't like you were playing as Edmond Santa Fe or whatever, right? Like you're
right,
just playing as a school and you made it look like Edmond Santa Fe.
right.
Um, But I was like, it was kind of dumb because it's like you could start out as the lowest rated recruit, and then by like the game three of your high school career, you were already like Alabama's giving you an offer, you know?
Yeah.
So I didn't think that that system really worked that great. So it is what it is. I mean, I don't think that's a major thing. I think people like are so like trying to nitpick. Um, and there's going to be things that, like I said, I understand there's going to be things that aren't perfect, all those things, but it's just that we have a college football game. It
Yeah.
looks like college football. It has the pageantry. I even told one of my buddies that's a like he's just a purely pro football fan,
Right.
basically. And he's like, sometimes I just don't understand. And I was like, dude, if you just went to a game or if you just saw a game or you just experienced
Yeah.
the atmosphere of a college football game, you would get it a thousand
Totally
percent.
different. Yeah. While
So
we still
anyway,
have it, go experience it because I do think
yeah,
it's changing. It's not going to be there much longer. But yeah, and by the way, Parker Thune, Brandon Drum actually did a podcast with a guy that is he used to work for a gaming like creation company. Now he does podcasting, some other stuff. But he was invited to be one of the people that played and met with EA Sports for like multiple days on answering questions and all these different things about the game. And he said, dude, he goes, the best way I can describe it is this: it's a love letter to college football fans. And I
yeah.
thought that was a great that gives me a lot of
There's
hope. And I know I'm going to be disappointed about something, but again, the game's back, dynasty mode's in there. That's what we all really want. Like we don't really even care. Like we just want dynasty mode. We just want our teams. It's going to be
let's
awesome.
and that was another telling thing that I saw. There was a guy I watched on YouTube that does. He's made a bunch of content. He got to go out to do the whole
Uh huh.
preview thing, and he said, he's like, I previewed games before, like I previewed Madden's, I previewed other sports games or whatever, and he's like, usually you have like a PR person, right? That's
Hmm.
there, that's they're talking about whatever, and that they have their bullet points. It's very marketing
Yeah.
ABCD, whatever. And then you may have like a dev here or there just in case something goes wrong. And they're like kind of like they're there basically if there's an issue.
Yeah.
Because you're playing a very early version of the game or whatever. And so they're not really like into it. He goes, like, this guy was like, I went there and he goes, they had a bunch of people there that worked on the game. Everybody was like, he was like, it wasn't just like, oh, we're going to talk about A, B, C, and D. They
Mm.
were smiling ear to ear, like, look, we incorporated this chant, or
Yeah.
like if you notice that we did these, like it's the little tiny details, and it's like to
Yeah.
have passion in gaming is something that's lacked, especially for a company like EA. So I hope that they somehow keep that intact because EA has been
Yeah.
known to kill that with fire.
Right.
So but anyway, I'm hyped. I'm gonna be July. I don't remember, July 16th, I think, is when you get early access. It's like, bro, I'm gonna be playing that. Like, what sucks is I have to travel like right around then.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
so I was like, am I just gonna pack my Xbox with me? I guess I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I know
But
this
anyways,
much. We have a friend, Troy and I, who literally texted us the other day and was like, what system are y'all playing on? And we were like, Xbox. And he goes, okay, I'm at Best Buy buying one right now so I can have a console when the game comes out. Like that's all. Like he's not owned a system in like 12 years. He is buying one specifically just to play
dude,
college football on.
it was funny because I had one of my buddies that was messaging me about it, and he was like, "Time about I don't remember what, like, what skin." I was like, "Look, you're gonna like go pick Alabama or whatever and try to like what it was like. You don't understand taking Dynasty and go taking Akron to the national championship after 3 seasons. You're just not built for that. You're just not ready for those types of fires and that type of trials in your life. It's
Yeah.
fine. It's fine. You're not ready for that. But it's gonna be a blast. I'm ready for it all, honestly.
It's gonna be legit. So we'll talk about it when it comes out and all that stuff here in just a couple weeks, which is awesome. And uh, really, one more thing before we jump on baseball and softball quickly is you and I had talked about a while back about I was struggling at times to find something that would motivate my son to do some different things. So the other day I went to him and said, "Hey, so here's the deal. You're on the cross country team." He goes, "Yeah." I was like, "Okay, I want you to be able to run your 2 mile at this pace by the end of the month, by June 27th." Then he was like, "Okay, why?" And I was like, "If you do it, I'm going to buy you the MVP bundle package of Madden and college football, where you will get early access to both games. You'll get some different. And he was like, wait, what? And I was like, yeah. I was like, it's a $150 package. I will buy it for you if you can run a mile at this pace by the end of the next 27 days. And he was like, done. He's already gone running twice on his own. And I told my friend, I was like, what he didn't realize was I was already buying that for myself. Like even
Yeah, shh.
yeah,
He doesn't
shh,
listen to the pod, so
don't say that anything. But anyways, OU softball. Hey, guess what? They're a win away from being back in the College World Series finals. Crazy that
yeah,
this program
yeah,
that was dead and at its demise somehow, some way, has risen from the ashes to be an
yeah.
underdog
Can we
making
talk
it to
about?
finals.
I remember all the smoke that OSU talked at the
Oh
end of the
Lord,
season.
yeah,
And then the and everybody, dude, I was rolling when they retweeted the when she said there's only one Oklahoma and it ends with
the
state or
state,
whatever.
yeah.
And
Oh
everyone
my
was
Lord.
like, nah, how many runs did you have in the College World Series? And just nothing. Um,
Zero.
yeah. So yeah, they're just Patty Gasso, man. I think they
Yeah.
like have. I think now I thought maybe it's either like they're tied or they have the record for the most semifinal appearances in a row or something wild. But yeah, they beat UCLA, which that was a fiery game. I don't know if you got to watch it, but it was you would see a 1-0 game and you'd be like, man, how was that fire? It's like, dude, there's a lot of
Oh,
chirping, there was a lot of just going back and forth. Those two
home runs
programs,
being robbed by both teams, like multiple
yeah,
home runs robbed over the wall
they
by
were
both teams.
it was just electric between the two. So that was really an interesting it was a fun game to watch, honestly. So you don't say
Super
that about a
fun.
lot of 1-0 games, but it was. Um go actually you have something to say. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I was going to say, I mean, you had mentioned it earlier, Kelly Maxwell. I mean, just not only the OSU side of it, of them already being bounced, but her pitching the game she did against UCLA to get there was like that was the chef's kiss of little brother getting knocked out by scoring 0 runs. And then Kelly Maxwell, on the other hand, pitching a freaking gem against one of the best teams in college softball. And by the way, doing it in a, dare I say, ballsy fashion. I don't know if you can say that about girl,
Yeah,
but
well,
like
like I was nervous because going into third inning, so third inning she had I think they was either bases were loaded, they had two on base,
two.
and
I know what you're talking about.
in comes I can't remember the girl's name.
Maya
Maya,
something. Yeah.
yeah, she her batting average with runners in scoring position was like 790, and
Yeah.
like has like crazy amounts of home run. Like it was just absurd stats. And you're like, oh my
And
god!
first
I was
base
like,
was open. That was the
yeah,
thing. First base was open. So literally the
yeah,
commentators like they're probably going to walk her here. They've got 2 outs. Give yourself options everywhere and she just went straight at her.
yeah. So got the strikeout and just was just nails all day. So just crazy good game to watch. A lot of fun. I had a blast watching that actually.
Yeah, it was awesome. And then of course, now that we're at the World Series at Devon Park here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, which by the way is about an hour drive from Norman, Oklahoma ish, somewhere in that neighborhood, 45 minutes to an hour. The conversation of what a terrible home field advantage it is for the Sooners came up again. And the reality that this tournament needs to rotate to different venues again came up. Which, by the way, this is never discussed about Omaha with the baseball side of things, right? It's never discussed that the same bowl games, while there is a rotation, let's be very clear, the Southeastern Conference, almost all the bowl games are in their blueprint.
Yeah.
Dallas is in their blueprint. The Sugar Bowl is in their blueprint. The Orange Bowl is in their
The
blueprint.
Peach Bowl.
The Peach Bowl is in their blueprint. Like the SEC conference literally is where all those bowl games are. And nobody wants to talk about that because it's rotating. So it makes it better, right? All that's fine. Like it's all good. And by the way, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma is just north of Texas, Austin, which Mike White was one of the loudest people about this. But here is the stat of that whole conversation. Mayor David Holt of Oklahoma City put out, this is your annual reminder that Devon Park in Oklahoma City is 2.5 times larger, listen to this, than the second largest softball stadium in the world. Devon Park is 2.5 times bigger than the second largest stadium in the entire world. And guess what? It sold out for almost every game, whether Oklahoma's playing or not. It sold out. So look, if y'all want to complain about moving it, then put your 10 million, $20 million up like Oklahoma City did and build a freaking facility that can do it. Because if you're going to move it somewhere, yeah, it's going to sell out and you're going to leave about 8,000 softball fans out of the experience. Because this place holds like 15, 20,000 people for a freaking softball game. It has fields for teams to warm up on. It's got a massive parking complex right behind it. You got hotels everywhere close by in Oklahoma City to do it. Oh, and for those that actually want an entertainment factor in the midst of all this thing, there's a horse track and a casino right behind it too for people to go enjoy themselves at. What are you going to do that with? UCLA hosted a regional and didn't sell out anything. Nothing. And their stadium holds like 3,000-4,000. Like, stop with the talk, man. Yes,
Yeah.
they have a home field advantage because they're really freaking good and they earn their way there. And by the way, Oklahoma's lost in the Women's College World Series at that same park. You
Yeah.
wanna end it, beat them. Period. I'm done with it. I'm over with it. And then OU baseball, how we looking?
Currently 3-1, bottom of the third. They've got 2 on, 1 out.
Okay.
They batters at the or runners at the corner, so they've kind of turned it on. Texas down 10-2, bottom of the ninth. So they got 3 outs. They got to get 8 runs and 3 outs.
Nice.
This is their elimination game. So yeah, just incredible. I just want to really just touch real quick. We'll move on real quick. Skip, can we just give Skip a little bit of a shout out because they made their crazy World Series, World College World Series run.
2-3
Was
years
2
ago.
seasons
Yep.
ago. Yeah, 2 or 3 years. It was crazy. Kind of a Cinderella story, right? Nobody counted him in. They may end up making it. Turns right around and has a team that goes and wins the Big 12
Yep.
regular season title. Did
First
lose in the
time ever.
finals, but we got all the way to the finals of the Big 12 tournament.
Right.
I mean, the dude's kind of doing it. The dude's kind of
Yep.
is Skip the guy. I mean, I'm just
Yeah.
saying
He's got a great look. His coaching staff's great. I was looking while they're recruiting. When you look at it, you don't go, "Wow, they're really ascending." You know what I mean? Like they're not in the top 10 or anything, but they have gotten better every year over the last 4 years in their recruiting. Their average player score is higher every year. Their ranking's been higher every year. They are slowly building something special. In Norman, which is awesome going to the SEC because there is great baseball in the SEC, and it will be very, very fun to watch and be a
well,
part of.
well, and I even talked to a buddy just real quick because I actually asked buddy about like why isn't like baseball recruiting? Like baseball's a big sport. Why isn't like the recruiting covered? And he's like, the problem with baseball recruiting is he's like, how many guys? He's like the number one recruit in the nation may go pro. He may not.
Yeah,
Right? He's like,
yeah,
there's so much of that, and he goes, it's so situational
yeah.
that recruiting is a lot harder to look at than it is like football or even basketball because they have to play at least, and even in basketball, you have to play a year in college,
It's
right?
2 years in college. If they do college, I
Okay,
believe they have to stay for 2 years. So yeah,
okay,
like your top 150 guys in baseball, high level chance are going to go ahead and go AAA route, as opposed to the college route. If they can
right.
get drafted even in the eighth, ninth round, a lot of those guys will take that and take their chances as opposed to going college baseball instead. So it's really hard to, and I think that's one of the things that Skip's done. He's done good evaluations. His evaluation process has gotten guys that maybe people weren't high on that he saw something
Well,
in and they overachieve.
and just development. Development's
Yeah.
huge. They even talking about. I remember that. I don't remember who it was, but they're talking about like there's a guy that in like even in high school was batting like 300. Like he wasn't really a hitter, because in high school
Yeah.
if you're batting like 200, 300, that's not
Right.
fantastic. And like he's hitting like well above 300 in college. Like he's
Yeah.
developed him so much better that he's even like he's doing better against higher competition. So
Yeah.
anyway, just fantastic. So just cool to see that we have both the baseball and softball team are doing well. So
Yeah.
they're looking good right now. Don't want to jinx it, but they're looking good right now. I just had a pitching change for Duke. So um but to roll into just to roll through the rest of this real quick so we can wrap this thing up.
Yep.
Speaking of SEC, there's apparently talks that there's going to be a Drive to Survive series on Netflix that there's in talks about, which I think would be fantastic. I think it'd be
Yes.
cool.
I think it would
Um,
be very cool.
it's kind of really, I really like. we're kind of in that weird. It's really funny that F1, which is a sport that I've loved before Drive to Survive even came out, has kind of spurred all these. Like you have the
Yes.
quarterback show, you have the receiver show.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's an IndyCar one. There's all these kinds of. There's a NASCAR one now, I think too.
I think there's even a
Like
golf one
yeah,
that
there's
they've done.
golf. There's a tennis one. Which is like I don't care about tennis, dude. When was the last time I watched tennis? And I still watch it. I'm just like glued to the television. So yeah, just really, really fun. Just I love that sports is huge.
Yeah.
And welcome to Wrexham, season 2 or season 3,
Three.
actually.
Yeah. Three.
Uh has been really good so far. I know you're still catching up, doing
Yes, I've got
fantastic.
one season or one episode left of season two. Unfortunately, I just finished. I had no idea that their women's team in season two went undefeated start to finish and got promoted, which was just so cool and awesome to
Yeah.
watch. And so I'm excited to get to season three. I'm not there. And then, yeah. And then you were just telling me as we started the pod that Open Range is back, which I did not know.
Yeah,
Uh,
I actually didn't either. I popped on Amazon. I was like, why is Open Range on here? Why is it suggesting it? Then it was like, oh, season two's out. So
uh,
pretty wild. I've already finished it. Pretty crazy.
well, the first
So
season was a little crazy. So,
yeah. And then just last weekend, you had the F1 race at Monaco, which is kind of like the marquee. It's what's
yeah.
funny is it's a very boring race. There was literally the top 10 positions, there was zero overtakes.
Yeah,
It literally
exactly.
finished how it started. Um, then you also have the Indy 500 the same weekend, which it's kind of like that's but the way it's been for I don't know how many years.
Right.
Indy 500 was a little wild because they had the huge rain delay.
Yeah.
There was all kinds of stuff. Now, I just want to say real quick before we kind of like this will be the last time we talk about, but Joseph Newgarden won the race, which is he won 2 years in a row now.
Uh-huh.
Phenomenal driver, all that. He's racing for the best team, right? Or one of the best teams. Um, he made a comment that he was like, "Oh, all of us in IndyCar could drive Formula One and just kill it."
Oh boy.
And I was
Oh
like,
boy.
"That's why all the washouts from Formula One
Well, go to
end
IndyCar.
up go to IndyCar." So it is what it is. It just really it's kind of a funny it's just a funny thing because it's like it I don't even dislike Joseph Newgarden. He's fine. I don't
Right.
watch IndyCar enough to have an opinion, but it's like it was just a really stupid thing to say. It's
Yeah.
like
Stay in your
it's just
lane. Just
it's just one of those things that it's two different. I think IndyCar is impressive, but you have a field of I don't even know 30 whatever 40 cars,
right.
right? And it's like you have 20 in Formula One,
Yeah.
everybody's outside of basically right now two drivers. Every one of those guys is phenomenal drivers, and they've
Right.
shown if you put them in anything else, they succeed. Like it is the pinnacle. So,
Yeah.
looking at you,
Absolutely.
Lance Stroll and Logan Sargent. But anyway,
That's awesome.
yeah, but really, really fun. So I'm just having a good time. But yeah, we'll definitely. I guess I'll keep you up to date on the Formula One. I guess that's my job on
Yeah,
the pod.
that is part of the job. So, well, that's all we've got for this go round. So again, it helps us a lot if you'd like, subscribe, and leave a comment. So we would really appreciate if you do that. The more subscribers we have, the more opportunities we have to bring different people on and do some different things with this. So help us by doing that. We would really appreciate it. We're having a great time. We hope you are too. I'm Daryl, that's Jared, and we will talk to you guys later.
Bye, Baker.